Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL for the final time this week's season. James, a game week review podcast. The world no longer revolves around Fantasy Premier League for about, 6 weeks? My name's Suj.
My name's James. I'm in touch. Come on, your
8 weeks.
naivety at the end of season 8 is to know that it will still be revolving around Fantasy Premier League for many people today. What price do you think he'll be next season? And yeah, it'll still be going on,
It's not
mate.
revolving around that for me. Not until they open the FIFA World Club Cup Championship Conference League fantasy game, which I
It's
think will be
open.
opening soon.
It's open.
Yeah, I think I'm going to secretly play that and see what happens. I'm going to play that in the most casual way I possibly can. So no difference FPL.
I was going to say, yeah.
Season is done. Season is done, James.
And you finished inside or outside the top 100k?
101k, 280 and 1 point off, according to Live FPL. I was hoping after the final whistle that Opta or FPL somehow fudged a bonus point here or there, but it didn't happen. So yeah, just outside top 100k, 101k is my highest overall rank ever. Like, whether it was inside or outside the top 100k, kind of at this point, who cares? It just felt a really bland going into the final day of the season, because my team I was happy with. Like, I was happy with Marmoush, Isak, Watkins up top. Could have gone and got Evan Nilsson or what have you, but really any of the others could have just as easily returned. So I didn't really particularly feel like that was a good move. Bowen, Salah, Bomo, wasn't moving any of them on. I had the choice of Jacob Murphy or Morgan Rogers. I played Jacob Murphy in the end for 1 point more than Morgan Rogers. But again, where am I going to move one of those midfielders to? Didn't really see anything. Van Dijk, Guardiola, Livramento, was happy with that back three. So ended up making the most boring move of all boring moves. I sold Dean Henderson for David Raya on the final day of the season. I thought, look, Areola is against Ipswich away is actually a safe-ish clean sheet bet compared to the odds. But I know my teammate. I just know it. And I knew there wasn't going to be a clean sheet there. So I thought, do you know what? If there's a clean sheet to bank on, it would be Arsenal. And guess what? They didn't keep me a clean sheet. So ended up
That's it.
just
Ariola didn't even turn up, did he?
no, exactly. Fabianski got a game on his final day of the season. So it ended up working out in my favour for 2 points. And obviously Henderson didn't keep a clean sheet either. There was only, 3 or 4 clean sheets over the weekend? 4, wasn't it? Chelsea, Everton, Man United and City. So I had returns from Guardiola, Jarrod Bowen, the machine, Mo Salah captain for 20 points, and Brian Mbumo for 8. 62 points, game week rank of 1.5 million. Off we go.
It was green final day for you, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a small green. Small green.
Small red for me, finished 51k. I don't know if there's anything more Planet FPL-ish than Suj finishing 1k outside the top 100k and me finishing 1k outside the top 50k. But that's how it's landed. Pretty shit final day for myself. I bought and captain Saka. So
didn't show up.
That went well.
Yeah.
And I bought Evan Nilsson for Cunha. So, I mean, actually just looking at forwards this week, Suj, I think Rush Stewart, who we all own, obviously, and Erling Haaland, I think the only 2 forwards to score on final day, I think.
Oh, wow.
Unless I've missed one somewhere, I no doubt probably have. But I think, yeah, those are the only 2 forwards to actually score on final day. So if people weren't buying Evan Nilsson, chances are they were going back to Isak because there was rumours in the last hour that he was going to play. Or obviously went Danny Welbeck, who also didn't even show for Brighton.
Yeah,
I
was surprised to see that as well. Crazy.
So most people who kind of the winners who obviously gambled on their transfers at the end, those who went Semenyo, or obviously those who sort of chased after Jarrod Bowen who hadn't owned previously, those were the winners in terms of transfers final day. Otherwise, it was probably a bit of a damp squib for anybody who kind of invested final day. Yeah, a bit shit. 52 points. Returns for me, Vardiol, Salah, Bowen, Bumo. Dash a lot, yeah. 17 points of Everton defenders on the bench with no regrets.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I
let's be
mean, that
honest.
was if Newcastle had done well, like that would have completely changed it. I've got 2 points out of Isak, Murphy, and Livramento. 2 points each, I should say. So 6 points overall. That was a real flop, real disappointment. I mean, they still got into Champions League, but yeah,
Yeah,
that from a
although
fantasy point of view,
Villa are
disappointing.
awaiting a response for
No,
their official complaint.
I can let you know, Villa fans, that nothing's going to change.
No, it's not.
Yeah, indeed.
Who are you buying for next week?
Who am I buying for next week? I tell you what, I'll be captaining Erling Haaland in the World Club Cup Championship League Conference tournament in the first week. So there we go. Nobody, James, nobody. Cool. Shall we talk about these games on final day? I mean, it ended up it got lively. It started quite slow, didn't it? It was thinking like 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in. Hang on a second. I mean, you were obviously at Spurs, so you were head focused on that game as opposed to having eyes on every single fixture that was going on at the same time in terms of on SofaScore or whatever it was. But it really felt like a very slow start to a game
Yeah,
week
I mean,
38 that promised to be loads of
I
goals.
think
Ended up being pretty lively, but yeah.
at half time we were the only home team that had scored, I think, which is pretty wild in itself. Before we do games, we should acknowledge a couple of things.
Ah, yes, of course.
Firstly, congratulations to Sunderland
Yes.
on promotion back to the Premier League. Those who watched the game on Saturday, if you were like me, were probably pulling their eyelids out a little bit. It wasn't a great watch, and Sunderland never looked like winning. Although once they equalised, they obviously had a chance and took it towards the end. We have appointed a new correspondent. It's going to be Spencer Barrowman, who many of you might know as FPL Beery on Twitter. He's going to be our new Sunderland correspondent. And to our Mackham followers, who are a big football club, welcome back to the Premier League, and commiserations to our Sheffield United followers. Also, there was obviously a very unfortunate incident last night in Liverpool following their parade, during towards the end of the parade anyway, and the celebrations. Many of you will obviously heard of the incident. At the time of recording, it sounds like very fortuitously no one's passed away, but
Yeah.
obviously a couple of very serious injuries following this incident with a car driving through the crowd. If there's any Liverpool fans who were there or not there, want to reach out or anything, give me a shout. If there's anything I can offer in terms of words, I'm here, obviously, but my thoughts are with you at this moment.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the last thing you want to see a moment of celebration. So yeah, well said. And as James said, do reach out. Cool. Right. So let's rattle through these 10 games that we had on the final day of the season. Bournemouth 2, Leicester 0, as expected. Has Ruud van Nistelrooy left now? It was pre-announced, wasn't it?
I don't think it's done, Suj, unless I've
Was it
missed
not?
something. Look,
I'm sure I
the way
thought I'd seen behind the scenes somewhere that it hasn't been announced then.
I think he is going to go, but the way he was talking after the game was still like, yeah, we need to talk.
Right. Okay. Fair play.
Okay.
If he wants the challenge of coming up, then great. Forget Semenyo though, man. That guy has trolled me no end. Since I got rid of him on wildcard, that's 2 assists and 4 goals in about 8 weeks. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 goals and 2 assists in 8 weeks, and nothing week on week on week before.
The reason I fancied him more was it was a consequence of Lewis Cook's red card, and when I say I fancied him more, I fancied him more over Cliver. It was a knock on of Cook being sent off. I'm wondering what they would do in terms of central midfield, because obviously Alex Scott obviously broke his jaw, and they was hopeful that he'd be involved. I come to the conclusion that Tavernier would play deeper, which is basically what happened. But I did wonder if it might be Cliver plays that role as well. So for those who were asking on Sunday, I was like, yeah, if I was going for one of midfielders, it would definitely be Semenyo at this stage. And consequence, Clivert's played where he's normally played anyway. Semenyo ends up scoring a scuffed goal on one typical brilliant, well-drilled strike, exactly what we associate with him from distance for his second. Big disappointment for Evan owners. I suppose Howson owners probably never even, partly probably didn't even notice that he didn't start because he ended up obviously getting kind of a block tackle in that assisted Semenyo for his second. Their summer's very much about what they hold on to, right? We know Howson's going to Real Madrid. Kirke's strongly linked with Liverpool. Semenyo is going
Yep.
to be strongly linked with others as well.
I think
And
people
again,
have been in the market for maybe even a Cliver or something like that. People
and
will be looking around.
although every indication that Iriola will stay, he's obviously going to be linked with a job or two as well. So
Kepa's got to go back to Chelsea,
yeah,
and
still
they'll
need
need to
new. I
fill
mean,
that hole
they
as well.
may end up even buying him, quite possibly. What I would say with Bournemouth is their recruitment with the likes of House and Kirkheads has shown that they'll probably be all right moving forward. But when you take that many good players out the squad, there obviously has to be a little bit of concern about how they land for next season. I think ultimately they've got to be really disappointed to be finishing like ninth, really.
Yep.
It's a great achievement for them to finish in that position. But I think there was a period where a lot of them thought, well, at worst here, they'll finish top seven and qualify for Europe. And they've ended up being quite a bit short of it in the end.
I just think it shows how hard it is to maintain over 38 games. Even
Absolutely.
you could put Fulham in that bracket.
Yep.
You could put Brentford in that bracket, Brighton in that bracket. It's hard to maintain over 38 games. And that shows why kind of the cream rise to the top at the end of the season. But yeah, well done to them. I suppose Leicester's rebuild time now. Again, who stays, who doesn't, as they drop down into the
Yeah,
championship.
I mean, they're not
I
one.
don't think many people are going to come and kind of rate them per se. They don't really have the talent there necessarily that people will be looking at.
Well, Leicester.
I don't know
No,
who would you
only
buy?
only El Canous, I think,
Yeah,
who didn't start on Sunday anyway. He'd be the only one, maybe, and that might be partly why he didn't start, possibly. You'd be interested to see what happens price-wise with the likes of Cliver, Semenyo next year. I suppose them two and Evan Nilsson are all going to get a little bit of a hike. One to keep an eye on for next season might be a Rojo at right back, who we've not seen a lot because of injury, but may well become obviously first choice next season.
cool. Fulham 0, Manchester City 2. Obviously, Man City racked up a big XG in this game, nearly 3, James, and obviously the penalty helps with that. But take the penalty out, and it's still decent. They only had 3 big chances, and Fulham ended up with 4. I didn't see many highlights from this.
Yeah, I think
Fulham might
Fulham
have
had
been
some
able to get
decent
something,
chances, particularly in the first half. Yeah.
could have maybe got something out of it, but in the end, the strength of City has shown.
Yeah, made a few changes themselves for them. Tom Kearney's obviously been linked to a move away. We've heard some Wrexham rumours going around. He started. I don't know if there's a consciousness of last home game, and obviously from Fulham's perspective, it was pretty much done in terms of where they could finish in the league positioning. Cuenca got a start at left-sided centre back. I reflect on Lewis James saying to us in pre-season that he thought that eventually he would become Fulham's left-sided centre back, but I think Calvin Bassey's had a pretty decent season actually.
Yeah.
And you've seen it again. You're always liable to get a bit of rotation in these forward spots. Iwobi started nearly every game this season. Doesn't start this one. Harry Wilson and Andreas Pereira back in the team. Pereira's obviously been linked with moves away. I think Fulham can be pretty content with their season, but also very disappointed to finish bottom half. Ultimately, their
Yeah.
underlying numbers in terms of defensive is really good. I can't remember exactly. I've not looked since the weekend, but they were fourth or fifth best for expected goals conceded going into the weekend across the whole season. So I think to finish bottom half, therefore, is actually pretty disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, I don't know though. You look at the teams that are below them in the table: Everton, West Ham, Manchester United, Tottenham, even
Oh yeah,
Palace.
it's just as a
Even
consequence that
Palace
they have been
below
top
them.
half for a lot of the season. That's why it's a bit disappointing. For clubs like Fulham, I think you are aiming for the top half. I think Marco Silva will be gutted that they finish 11th.
Yeah. Yeah. Understandable. I just think, yeah, don't beat yourself up about it too
No,
much.
no, no, not at all. For City, changes again. No start for De Bruyne. Doku back in the team. A wider sort of right-hand side role, it looked like, for Marmoush. It really went kind of narrow with a three in midfield, with Gundogan able to join on as he was for the first goal. I think Akanji being back's made a positive difference for City over the last couple of weeks as well. That's freed Vardiol back up again. I really like Manuel Akanji. I think he's been a miss when unavailable this season. Similar applies to Nathan Ake as well. It'll be interesting to see how City do in the summer, because Rodri's back. And presumably by the time they at least hit, say, the knockout stages of that summer tournament, he's going to be back in the team regularly. What's the impact? How big of a difference can he make? Because I still think that team is missing too many goal scoring options in it, I think.
Yeah, Rodri's not going to be the solution to the problem.
No, of course, he's not. I mean, he's going to make them a better football team. But I still think you need next season for City to win the title. Like, unless someone else is going to step up, i.e., like a Foden getting back to last season's form, you're really pinning on Marmoush getting towards 20 goals. I think, because if Haaland doesn't score, then you're not in terms of concerned for them scoring goals, but I'd be concerned for them scoring goals in terms of winning a title. Yeah. And can they find back their consistency, which has been such a problem throughout this season? And I recognise, certainly over the last couple of months, they've not been competing for a title, so not kind of head down thinking got to win every single week. So they finished third in the end. That's probably the minimum of what Man City could have possibly accepted going into this season. Well, they wouldn't have accepted that going into pre-season, would they? Third?
No.
But at least they've obviously got themselves still in the Champions League place. Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what they do. There've been links with a lot of players. Morgan Gibbs-White's a name that's obviously come up quite a lot. And I wonder if someone like Foden, if he can re-find himself, does Foden get a major price drop, Suj?
Was he just started 9 this season? Or was it 8 something?
9 something. I suppose he's got to.
9 or 9.5. Yeah. I think maybe 8. He's still at Man City. We still know the capability. So I'd say 8.
I never owned a City player till game week 29, I think, this season. But Haaland's going to get a drop, isn't he? He's got to. Marmoush might be classified. Drop. Yeah, you can't go to... The thing with Haaland is you can't go, all right, let's drop him to 12, 13, because if he does a Haaland bits, then he becomes an auto pick again. He's still got to be high. Marmoush as a midfielder offers obviously a really good alternative within City to him, if that's what he's classified as. And I think he will be. And I think that's going to be a really popular one going into next season. So their summer's going to be fascinating, because it sounds very much like they're prepared to obviously invest further.
Well, they need to. So, yeah.
Well, ultimately, yes.
Ipswich 1, West Ham United 3 was the thriller that I decided to sit through of all of the games, James, from start to finish, because I'm an idiot and I support West Ham. But I
think you're less of an idiot than me, sir.
This was very much training ground kind of football. Practice game, pre-season. I wasn't called it pre-season friendly, but yeah, West Ham dominated the ball, played nice football without threatening. Ipswich made it very easy for us to play nice football. And then every now and then, throughout the first half, Ipswich would counter or try and create something. West Ham would panic a little bit. Ipswich would have a little bit of chance. And then you get back in the pattern of play of West Ham, just knocking the ball around. Nice, neat, tidy, build up play with no final real end product. Ipswich would have a breakaway chance every now and then, and the same thing. Until and when Jarrod Bowen decides that he wanted to make something happen, and then that's it. It was pretty much the Jarrod Bowen show as a game changer. When he wanted to turn it on and add that little bit of quality, he did, and that was that. Nothing exciting, really.
He's pretty much been the form player of the league over the last 6 or 8 weeks or so.
Yeah,
and playing in a with all due respect, an average team who's had nothing to play for. I think that's pretty good.
This is a stat for you. You might have seen it in the Slack channel on the West Ham Slack channel for our patrons. Only 6 times in Premier League history has a West Ham player got more than 20 goal or assists, goal contributions, and 3 of them are Jarrod Bowen. 3 of the last 4 seasons where he's top 20 goal assist combinations. Like, he's just talisman galore. There is a very, very small part of me that feels like he should go on to bigger, better things than West Ham. But then I remember that if we didn't have him, we'd get relegated, mate. So Jarrod Bowen is it. Ipswich will feel confident, I think, going into. I think they have better team than Leicester, for example. I think if they can keep a fair chunk of it together, they will put up a good fight to get back in the Premier League next season. We clearly know Delap's on his way. There's talks with various clubs.
Everyone.
But Hurst was a threat, you know. He's a striker. He's going to do all right. I think if they can keep the bulk of that together, they'll be all right.
Yeah,
they'll have a good chance of getting back.
They've missed a number as well. They've invested in recently. You forget about people like Ogbene and Philogene Biddance, who they invested in and stuff. And I've not seen them for like months on end. Sammy Schmolix has had problems recently. I think you add those attacking players back to this team next season, and yeah, they'll be right near the top of that league as well. I think it's probably really disappointing for them to reflect and realise they'd only won one home game, and that was against Chelsea. That's ultimately the
and they were good
thing,
that day. I remember I watched that game, which was rare for me to do. They were good that day.
For the Hammers, real aura about Bowen's goal, Suj. The way he just quickens the tempo himself from the flank in terms of the 1-2 with Wan-Bissaka. You see Wan-Bissaka afterwards just stands there and applauds. It's like,
but
special.
He did that a couple of times prior to the one where he had the shot. He had the 1-2, maybe it was Soucek or Fulkrug. He hit the shot. It was a good shot, which was similar in terms of when he gets the ball, it's like, right, it's a bit more direct. It's a little bit more, we want to put it at the back of the net. Yeah, it's a good player.
The priority now for your club is to get players into that football club who are better suited stylistically for your manager.
Well,
I know there's been a lot of upset about Soucek's going to leave and stuff like that. For me, this is all the right decision.
Yeah, but I think what it might mean is a little bit of pain before.
It may do, yeah, it may do.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Soucek hasn't been let go, but Soucek has been told that he can move on if he finds another club.
Okay, he's not out of contract then, no?
No. Soufal is out of contract and gone. Creswell is out of contract and gone. Fabianski is out of contract and gone. Danny Ings is out of contract and gone. Like some of these names, you're like, well, they don't play anyway. Soucek isn't out of contract this summer, but he has been told he can find another club, from my understanding. So he's been told surplus to requirements. And it hurts because, you know, when we've been shit, these are the guys that have put a shift in. You can always rely on them. Like, whilst everything else is down, Soucek's had a good season. Yeah, it's difficult. It's funny because Soufal has been let go and they just signed his like 7-year-old or 8-year-old boy to the academy or something. So it's like, all right, my kid's going to play for you now, but I've got to piss off. Fair play. But yeah, it is. You're right. Going to be another summer of rebuild, which we thought last summer was, but you know, change of manager and all that. So let's see.
Yeah, you need something different stylistically. You tipped up Kudos pre the weekend.
It didn't start.
It didn't start, but he got a goal.
He did. I thought fancied. People are looking for punts, aren't they, on the final day of the season?
Yeah.
I mean, he had been lively, so I thought I did kind of say, "Oh shit!" When I saw he hadn't started, that's going to come out well. But then, thank God, he came on and scored. So let's see. The good thing with Kudus this season that he's been so average that I can't see too many people coming looking for him. Maybe there'll be someone that will want to buy him off for potential, but then we won't get the price that we necessarily want. So hopefully he stays.
What's your hopes for next season?
Top half, and maybe get back into European football. But more than anything, I want to see Graham Potter. I want to see a Graham Potter team. You know, I want to see a team that is what he wants to do and progressing in the style that he wants to. Because it might be another season of adapting to his way of football, and the season after we have a really good season. So I want to see Graham Potter have an impact on that team stylistically. And if that can get us to top half / challenging for Europe, then I'll be happy. But more of that on Tottenham, because we still got to do that tomorrow for the Patreons. Let's talk about Liverpool.
We're actually going to talk about West Ham on that.
Of course. Liverpool 1, Crystal Palace 1. Party poopers in the first 10 minutes. That was my Virgil van Dijk clean sheet wipeout. And then I thought, fair play. If they're going to score early. So it gives Liverpool a chance to just fucking turn it on and really go and get 3 or 4. And they just didn't.
No, Palace are a good side.
Yeah.
And that's
They are,
despite.
apart from that 3 or 4 week period where we wanted them to be all right.
Well, they started the
Which
season
obviously
really
they
slowly
didn't.
as well.
Yeah. And then was it before the cup semi or the cup quarter, they just had that
They
ropey period
did, yeah, the City
where we
5-2,
all
the
just thought,
Newcastle
you know what, it's
5-0.
all right. They've won 6 away games, not conceding any goals. It's all right. We're all right on Palace. They had that ropey run, and then they've turned it around, obviously, afterwards once they've got that cup semi out of the way. But they are. And you can see them being a squad/team that will build on what they've got, apart from, obviously, if they can keep the jewel in the crown, which is Eberiche.
Well, it's not just Eze, is it? It's Mateta, Gay. I think Munoz is going to
What is
start getting
Mateta?
attention. There's a few there. I mean, if they keep
27. Mateta, yeah. So he's still young, right? He's still an attractive
the
asset.
problem for them next year as well is like their first 11 is good. And I think there are certain areas like, Jefferson Lerma's stood in here for Mark Gay and been competent, and that's fine. They've got a few in midfield they can rotate with. Obviously, like Doucouré's been unavailable for a long time. Adam Wharton missed out the weekend. But European football, it's going to need a stronger squad. There's no doubt about it. And for Palace being in Europe, I think for the first time, don't quote me on that. It's obviously going to be very serious and important for them. And realistically, a Palace should be getting to the last 16, last 8 in Europa League. My team won it, and they're better than us, so they're capable of going the whole way, right? You just need greater
Glasner's a good
squad
manager.
depth to be able to.
He's a good manager.
And he's won it. He won it with Frankfurt, right? So I think that's something to acknowledge for next season. I imagine something will leave them this year. I would have thought Gay is probably the most likely player actually to go. But yeah, good manager, good nucleus of a good team now. They'll be fine. If they didn't have European football next year, I'd be like, yeah, they're going to finish top half next year. No problem, actually. That would be my thoughts. But European football might slow that a little bit. For Liverpool, before we talk the team, firstly, we have to acknowledge that the reception for Trent was good.
Yeah.
Because we've been critical of it, and at the weekend it was fine. I think Jurgen Klopp's comments really helped. Have you seen that Jurgen Klopp?
I didn't see it.
What Jurgen Klopp said was so good. I think the "that's not us" line kind of really resonated, and it's like, yeah, do you know what? It's your own party. Don't ruin your own party. So I'm pleased that he didn't get booed at the end and stuff, and people didn't have to go mad for him. Just accept it for what it was. He came on. He played some great passes in the second half, actually, kind of giving a glimpse of what might be missed. Because although I think Conor Bradley is an outstanding talent, there's obviously a very different profile type of player. But they'll be fine with him. They look like they're going to be investing
do you think,
in Frimpong.
obviously there's the Frimpong rumours is going to happen. Do you think the fact that now the fans know that what's coming through the door, they're happy with, so they're like, all right, fine, go. It's like, all right, Trent can go because we're getting Frimpong kind of attitude.
No, I don't think there's probably more to it than that. But yeah, maybe it does help a little bit going, okay, right, the club is showing that they're going to move on.
And it's not just Frimpong. They've been linked with a number of other players as well.
Well, it looks like Florian Wirtz is going to go there.
His bids in and stuff. So when you hear these kind of things, you're like, all right, the club means business, right? Because the last couple of transfer windows or what have you, they've been fairly quiet overall.
Yep. And there's no doubt, despite obviously being fully deserving Premier League champions this year, there's no doubt that squad needs improving. Like if you said, right, Liverpool going to sit still, Trent's going to go, and they're not going to do anything, and you said, right, do you think they win the league next year? I'm going, no, actually. Now that kind of reintegration of new players, fresher faces, exactly what you need win a title. It's in too many cases.
Re-signing Salah, re-signing Van Dijk now.
Well, that as well
helps. Yeah, so I mean, they'll be up there. They'll be challenging next season. There's no doubt about it.
What price, Mo?
Ooh, I'm going to say 13.5 or 14 million.
It's not even a choice, is it? If they've got, like, with all due respect, Sunderland at home opening day, there's no choice, is there?
Yeah, no. And he's petered out towards the end of the season a little bit, but that's also because Liverpool have petered out towards the end of the season a little bit. But they've obviously not got this Club World Club Cup Championship Conference League tournament to go to. So he's going to have another rest and hit the ground fresh again. And you know he's in just such good shape right now. And he's going to be hungry for it now. So, yeah, I think it's going to be hard to ignore. Obviously, fixtures dependent at the start of next season.
All right, for the Towers listening, come on. You got to smash him up next year, guys.
15. Let's see.
You've got to make him very, very expensive. It has to be a little bit like last year when the Haaland price dropped at 15, and I think we all went, "Oh, that's really good," because that's not an auto pick now. That's like, oh, there's a real decision to make. Then obviously he scored like 7 in 4 or something. It's like, oh. But actually, he's now going to be in for a dip, isn't he? Mo's got to be like that for me. It's got to be his price comes out and people go, I'm not sure I'm going to pay that. That's what has to happen when his price comes out. And I think at 14, if Liverpool's fixtures are good again, I don't think that's not going to do anything.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. Let's talk about Newcastle 0, Everton 1. Yeah, I mean,
Don't want to talk about Man United. I know they've had a shit
sorry,
period.
I've skipped down one. Also, because I predicted Aston Villa to win, and they clearly didn't.
You were told all week long.
No. Listen, this result is not in the bag yet because a strongly worded letter, has been sent to the professional game match official. Whatever.
Be better, Villa. Come on, be better. And I get the frustration because. Yeah, for this to happen in game 38, it was pretty bad with the Rodgers incident. However, I do have sympathy with the referee because you would think, I think everybody would have seen it first time. You'd think, well, if he's made any form of contact with Bayinda's hand, then you're going to think it's getting ruled out, right? And the fact Bayinda does touch it with 2 hands first. From the referee's angle, he's got to think he's got control of the ball. So I understand the error. And also think it's easy to be the hindsight afterwards and go, he obviously shouldn't have blown his whistle. We should have let play go. Of course he should have. But I think in his mind, he's blowing it because he's like, I'm 100% sure that goalkeeper had 2 hands on the ball. And it's really, really unfortunate. Obviously, he didn't. And the goal should have counted. And I'm fairly certain that had the whistle not gone, VAR would have given a goal. I'm fairly certain of it because Rodgers does remarkably well to get his toe on the ball and make absolutely 0 contact with Bayinda.
What I find a little bit upset, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, is more the reasons behind the complaint is like he's not experienced enough and we shouldn't give high profile games to these guys and so on. If he's been adjudged to be good enough to referee at this level, his age or experience, I don't think is relevant. Just let him get on with it and referee. I mean, it's funny because Gary on the Fan View last week was talking about this game that they had with Forest and Anthony Taylor. And
did Chelsea win again with Anthony Taylor? One defeat in 20 now, by the way.
But I think this whole agenda of against teams and stuff, it's not helped by what happened earlier in the season. But yeah, I think I don't like the referees make mistakes. Don't then pinpoint, well, he's too inexperienced or whatever else. If he's been judged to be good enough, then you got to get on with it. And there's no agenda. The thing is as well,
if you think about this logically, there's probably a lot of referees from an experience level would have got wiped out of this weekend. So what I mean by that is like Michael Oliver couldn't have refereed this game. It's a Newcastle fan, right?
Mm.
And a lot of the referees as well. We know there's a huge pool of referees from the Northwest in the league, so that would rule them out of refereeing like Manchester United or Liverpool games as well and stuff, right? So I think probably a lot of the experienced refs got pulled and weren't able to do that game for some different reasons, and that's probably part of it. Yes, I think ideally you would have probably wanted a more experienced head to do the game, but again, he's experienced enough to do Premier League. It should be fine. And I also think ultimately he's really unlucky on the incident because I'm fairly certain that from his angle, it looks like Bayinda had control of the ball. So I don't think it's again, I think it's easy. We could say he should have waited. Of course he should have waited. But I think he's blown the whistle because he's like, I'm 100% sure. You know, when we say about linesmen, come on, you must be 100% sure. Stick your flag up, right? And it annoys us that they
Yep.
don't, right? Look at the Awoniyi injury and stuff. And I think this is just one of them where he's gone, I'm 100% sure that keeper put two hands on the ball. And that's how
Yep.
it would have looked. He got the other decision right, the Martinez red card, which is ironic because there is speculation that he might actually be going to United and therefore could be suspended for them in game week 1 next year. The difference between this one, I think, and the Dean Henderson one last week, because I know some people, hang on, you didn't think Henderson should get sent off last week. Number one, it's the fact that Martinez absolutely goes looking for him. He clearly, Martinez changed his angle of run to take him out. And I know people say, oh, it's further from goal as well. Yeah, but the positioning of the Villa defenders is very different to the position of the Palace defenders. The Palace defenders in the final were kind of up to play alongside Henderson. On this one, the Villa players are obviously much further back. Great through ball from Matty Cash, by the way. And it's worth saying, obviously, look, I've not watched a lot of the game, but the feedback from the Villa fans was that actually 11v11, they were not playing well at all.
Okay.
So yes, you can point it all on the referee, but I think most Villa fans I've seen have said, look, whether the red card was right, obviously the disallowed goal, they weren't playing well 11v11, they didn't play well 10v11, they didn't actually deserve to get the points that would have obviously seen them finish top four. Nice result for United, obviously after a really difficult week. Their summer's going to be fascinating. It does sound like the Cunha deal's going through. They're being linked with
Yeah, and
others.
a fair price, 63 million or something like that. It's
Yeah,
not
we know
bad.
that's kind of the payout clause. They've been heavily linked with Boomo over the last 24 hours or so. Now, if you had, we've spoken about them scoring goals being a massive problem, right? You put Cunha and Boomo in that team, you're talking something very different. And I know
Is
people.
Delap close as well, or do you think
Well,
Delap ends up somewhere
well
else? Because that's a whole
I'll
new
tell you
front
what I
line.
heard last night. I heard Delap was really impressed with Everton's pitch.
Okay.
And that might be part to do with Everton gone, you come here, you're our boy. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with
Yeah.
others, he might not be
Yeah.
assured to be a definitive starter and stuff. So I've spoken before about like a move like Everton or West Ham. I think actually would be quite good for Delap. Yeah, if you put Cunha Boomer in, and I know people be thinking, well, why are you going there? That ain't got no Champions League football and stuff. Listen, do not underestimate the pool of that football club. It's absolutely huge. And for some of these players, the opportunity to go and play that football club will be like a dream.
But
So
we also know money talks. So let's
money
see.
talks, yeah. What I would say is, I wouldn't be surprised if Fernandez goes this summer. There's been little inklings that something might happen. I think we can clearly see the likes of Rashford, Garnacho are going to get moved on. Kobe Mino might be another one that unfortunately maybe has to be sacrificed from a PSR perspective. I wouldn't be surprised if Fernandez goes because that's a major ticket price. And it's a long way now at his age for United to get towards winning the Champions League or a Premier League, isn't it? A
Yeah, it's
long
true.
way.
Yeah.
So does he now think, okay, I was close with this one, go somewhere else? Doesn't sound like it would be in this country. It's mainly Saudi teams being linked. So
Right.
one to keep an eye on. Big summer for United. They're going to stick with Amrim. That's clear. They need to give that a lot of time. No doubt. And for Villa, the other thing to keep an eye on, it might be that Martinez is going to be the one that said, we do know they've got to sell a major player basically in the next 33, 34 days or so, or they won't be compliant with PSR. That seems to be fairly well known. Champions League money would have helped for them for next season. It might not be the only one that goes this summer.
Yeah, let's see how that pans out. Let's talk about Newcastle, Everton. Obviously, Delap Everton, we're talking about with Delap. Maybe Isak might be one to go.
No,
Newcastle
I don't
nil,
think so. Now they've got
Everton
Champions League. No.
one. And yes, like you said, they do have Champions League, which was the ultimate goal. I think losing on the final day of the season, maybe they were all a bit nervous and quaking in their boots, knowing that they're going to have to come up against their local rivals next season now in Sunderland. The nerves kicked in and they bottled it against Everton. Um,
I've seen very different reactions from Newcastle fans on Sunderland's promotion. There's the kind of expected split of I wouldn't wish them to have any success to the I'm looking forward to my six
Yay,
points
we can
next year.
batter
Kind
them.
of, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, I mean the Newcastle overall. If you think about actually, we forget they had a very slow start to the season as well, and so have ended up doing well.
well, interesting statistic here on Newcastle. So It completes pretty much losing to the majority of the teams who finished mid-table. So they've lost at home this season, Newcastle, to Brighton twice, FA Cup as well, finished 8th. Battered at home by Bournemouth 9th, beaten at home by Fulham 11th, lost at home to Everton 13th and West Ham 14th.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to put us in there.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I got you one in there, mate.
Monday night.
Um,
Yes.
and it just shows that's five different. If I'd have said to a Newcastle fan pre-season, you're going to lose them 5 home games, they'd have gone, we ain't finishing top 5. But they
Just
have.
James, if they won those, what if they won those 5 games? What's it
Yeah, I
put
mean,
them up to? Three
everybody,
3 points behind Liverpool.
everybody will have their what ifs. I think, look, the major thing for Newcastle this year, or next year rather, and hindsight, I guess, maybe benefits. Newcastle qualified for the Champions League twice. In both seasons, didn't have any European football. So now they've got to manage that better, right? The last time they got in, they probably deserved to, as they've done this time, but they collapsed injury wise, right? They've got to do something with the squad and they've got to be a little bit smarter about how they play next year because it's the intensity of Eddie Howe's teams at his best. I think part causes some of these injuries. So they'll have to adjust a little bit next year and they probably won't get away with inconsistent home results like that again. The reason they've made it is because of excellent results against others, right? The fact they've beaten Arsenal at home, for example. They'll invest, and I think they're more capable of investing now where they've been kind of restricted from PSR. They're going to have to and need a deeper squad. I think Anthony Gordon is still one to keep an eye on this summer. I wouldn't be surprised if he moved on. I got a little inkling on that, but I don't think they sack Will Suj. I just
The
know
thing
there's
with
a
this,
new.
it's just going to take a lot of money to make it happen. So who's really in the market to be dropping 110s, 120s on a striker?
For Isak.
No,
No,
it's just
I think he stays.
yeah.
But
That's what
I could see like Liverpool going for Gordon. We know it's been linked before. I could see it, particularly if Luis Diaz was allowed to leave, you could see that as like a replacement and stuff.
yeah, potentially.
For Everton, what a job David Moyes has done.
Remember, just going back to the start of the season, financial issues, Mashiri, crap, bottom of the table. To get to the end of the season here and just be like, you know what? Just draw a line under everything. You now go into the new stadium with Moyes in charge, who obviously has such a history with the club, and overall on a high. Like, yeah, incredible. I
Do you
think
want a
they
mental
must be
stat?
feeling so good, and also with the ownership, they'll probably be in a position. If like, imagine if Delap turned up there, the feel good around that going into the new season is going to be amazing. Go on, hit me with it.
They've lost the same amount of games as Newcastle this season.
That is a mad stat.
12 defeats each. Obviously, a lot more wins for Newcastle, very importantly. I think Everton
15
drawn 15,
draws.
yeah.
Compared to only 6.
I'll tell you what I'd expect with them next season. I'd expect a good start. Like you said, if they do end up buying someone like the lap, they're certainly going to invest in the squad. The new stadium's going to have a good vibe. Then I expect a dip. They will have a dip of home results at some point next season where the high of getting in there kind of drifts a little bit and everyone else goes, and this is what will happen to Everton. You have to understand this. Everyone else who plays Everton is going to go, God, this is better than playing at Goodison. And that's not to downplay Goodison in any way. I just mean what the facilities will be like for away players and all these sort of things are going to go, I like it here more. This is a nice away day. So Tottenham had this for a long while. It's like teams come to White Hart Lane and feel very comfortable. Like this is a bit plush. This is nice. It's better than the old place. Everton will have a suffer of that a little bit. Once the early games, what they want Everton at the new stadium is they want some of the bigger ones straight away, I think.
Okay.
Have something like Newcastle like as a first home game, which is like a real challenge. And then if you win it, feels absolutely great. If you don't, it's like, okay, fine. What they don't want to do is have results like where they fail to win against sides they'll expect to, and they will have a couple next year. It's nearly a certainty. But we look at them now, Suj, wouldn't we? And we'd say, I think they'll be fine under Moyes next year. No real concern.
Oh, zero concern as it stands at the moment. Yeah. And I think they'll clear out, excuse me, maybe I can see the likes of Calvert-Lewin potentially moving on and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
If
Yeah,
they
no
sign
concern.
if they sign Alcaraz permanently, I think he's one that might interest people if they have good fixtures at the start next season.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been all right recently. Forest nil, Chelsea 1. Another club who will be disappointed with where they finished at the end. But I would say, like, you can win the Conference League.
100% Forest can win the Conference League, yeah.
Forest can win the Conference League. And so, as much as, you want to be in the Champions League or you want to be in the Europa League because of the money that comes with it and the status, I'm sure Marinakis would rather be in the Champions League as he could watch those pound signs coming in. You can go and win the Conference League. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to get some European silverware. So don't be disheartened by finishing 7th and losing out Champions League, but now look at it as we can go and win the Conference League.
No, and the other benefit with the Conference League, because we've spoken about this a lot, Forest have got like a good core now, like 13, 14 players, but that's not enough for competing in Europe.
No.
But you can
Rotate.
in that competition. Yeah, Chelsea have given the perfect example of really what should be happening in the group stage, like Conference League. I mean, for Forest, if Forest played a second team in every single Conference League game, they really should still finish like top 6, top 8. You shouldn't have any issue. So I get it that there'll be players who want to, Elanga and Wood, and they can be like, oh, I want to play a European game. Cool. But I'd be sitting them down again. Going to have some more important ones in the second half of this season.
Yeah.
So Forest have got to manage themselves properly in the first. It will be new. It will be exciting. I agree with you. I think they'll end up doing quite well in the competition. They're well set up for European football as well, in the sense they're obviously quite happy quite a lot of the time to be without the ball. This obviously could have gone either way. Like, if Wood scores when he's kind of off his shin in front of Sanchez in the first half, maybe it goes very differently. Forest fans shouldn't be disappointed with their season. They should be absolutely delighted with it. It's okay to be disappointed with the way it's finished, because I really thought you was going to finish top 4 sort of after you beat City at home, but you should be quite proud of the season. For Chelsea, quietly, I think this is a really, really good achievement. Some of their underlying numbers are pretty good. I think like for XG throughout the season, they're actually second, Chelsea. Defensive numbers are pretty good. I think when you look at that starting 11, you can kind of debate whether Lavia or Chalobah should be in it, but it's pretty strong. Obviously missing Jackson through suspension at the moment. I think most Chelsea fans, if you said to them now, new goalkeeper, new 9, would be quite happy to just see what would happen with this team, therefore, next season. Been quite heavily linked with Hugo Ekitike of Eintracht Frankfurt over the last 24 hours or so, who I saw someone describe as a Timu Alexander Isak. That's way too harsh. But what I would say is he's a little bit he's Alexander Isak light. He profiles quite similar to Alexander Isak. It's the player that I reminded me of when obviously Frankfurt played my team quite recently. It's that kind of tall, languid, but looks really comfortable on the ball, decent carrier, links well, good finisher. Yeah, I can see the profile similarities to Isak. That's the first person I would think of, but not quite to that level. But that would be a good signing for Chelsea. That would be the one for them. And actually, although when we talk about a goalkeeper, Sanchez has done quite well, I think, over the majority of the last number of games. Levi Colwell has turned into a really solid defender who I think is probably going to go on and captain the club. I like how composed he gets on the finish, because he knows it's dropping onto his bad foot and he just makes sure, I'm going to take my time with this. You almost feel him taking a deep breath before he just, rather than panic in that moment. Like Darwin Núñez is smashing the crossbar there.
Yeah.
Just like, calm yourself down. It's landed on my bad foot. Take your time with it. Make sure you score. I think across the whole of the season, Moises Caicedo's been absolutely outstanding for Chelsea. They need more goals from the wide players. So if they don't get like an Ekitike, they need to find this isn't easy, a Salah type, do you know what I mean? Or an Eden Hazard type, someone that's going to profile and get enough goals from a wide area to mean that you can still use Jackson as your 9, because between Madueke, Sancho, Neto, they're not going to get enough. They're not going to get enough. And if Cole Palmer's not contributing in the way he had earlier, struggle. Chelsea, I think, won 5 or 6 games 1-0 over the last 3 months of the season. Ultimately, it's done the job. It's the defensive groundwork over the recent games, I think, has really paid well for them. So, congratulations. I think ultimately they've deserved it actually to finish in 4th.
Yeah. Southampton 1, Arsenal 2. I mean, Arsenal clearly dominated this game overall. I mean, 23 shots in the game, 4 big chances, racked up over 2 XG. And yet you kind of like 2-1, where we were all hoping for threes, fours, and a proper cricket score here, potentially. People thinking about steaming into double Arsenal attackers or banking on the double clean sheet because it's Southampton. And it didn't quite play out like that. I think it's pretty much Arsenal's season where they've just drawn too many games or struggled to really get make their dominance count. Like, don't get me wrong, they won the game, but 2-1 away at Southampton is not what you'd expect from them.
Yeah, they've ended up winning it for a brilliant goal from Martin Odegaard, scored from distance, right? So easy could have not, and perhaps more alarmingly, another goal obviously conceded from a set play. It was really well headed in by Ross Stewart, but it's becoming a problem for Arsenal. Something we've considered as such a strength for them offensively. People are now really highlighting it defensively
Yeah.
as a bit of a problem for them. I think probably, I don't regret buying Saka and captain him. I truthfully didn't think for a moment that he wouldn't start actually. And then you see the whole team and you go, oh, okay, right. It's not just Saka's not started. He's obviously rested a few here and stuff. So I think a few would have punted Trossard and been quite unlucky here as well. Odegaard as well. So I know he's come on and scored. Calafiori might have been one a few even punted as well. So number of changes and perhaps an overestimation from myself in terms of the fact that they had second wrapped up. It doesn't matter now. But I felt, and this is why I don't regret it, I really felt that Southampton were there for the taking. If you'd told me, like, we've identified recently the strength of them being like the back three together, Bednarek, Harwood Bellis and Stevens, actually, when they all played together, it's all right. None of them played. Like, if I'd have seen the Southampton team and not the Arsenal team, I'd have been even more going 100%. I'm captain Saka. I'm chasing it. And I've even thought of going another Arsenal player rather than Evan Nilsson. I think if I'd have seen that Southampton team was even weaker than I thought it would be, with obviously Stevens not being in it. And they changed system and gone for four. Yeah, of course. Hindsight, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I don't regret chasing the captaincy on a player that was scheduled to play the worst team in the league, was going to have all three of their centre backs absent. No, I don't regret that at all. But yeah, I mean, Arsenal ultimately maybe nearly didn't win this game, but it doesn't matter, does it? They'd obviously got the second wraps up. I'm intrigued what happens with Southampton because Will Steele's obviously been appointed, and that feels like it could go either way. It'll either be genius or it will be, oh, okay, English football's a bit different. This is going to be tough, and there's no way I know him. But I wish him and Saints fans well. Arsenal are obviously going to do business in the window. I think it's well documented. They want a 9. We think Gyökeres is probably going to be the main target.
The rumours over here are that it was a done deal behind the scenes, and it's just a case of waiting for the season to end. But that's rumours here. I don't know whether or not he's the striker that they need. Didn't know.
That end with 101st minute equaliser against your mighty Benfica at the weekend before they won in extra time, Suj, no?
That was the cup.
Yeah,
that was the cup.
After they'd won the league as well. So
and then they scored 2 in extra time, so it was 3-1 in the end.
I know. So you've chosen Benfica and you've cursed them. You realise this, right?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. They will stoop to my West Ham levels slowly and surely.
Listen, if Benfica don't win a title for about 10 years, people are going to come looking for you. You know that.
My residency in Portugal will be revoked. But yeah, I think, look, Gyökeres is clearly, he knows where the back of the net is considering how many goals he scored over the last few years. So let's see what Arsenal do in the summer. But yeah, they will be strengthening. There's no doubt about it.
It feels like all the top clubs that we're looking at City, Liverpool as well and going straight from, we're going Chelsea, and that number 9 talking about players like Ekitike. Feels like everybody's going to be doing that this summer, doesn't it?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Right, James, Tottenham 1, Brighton 4. Explain this to me. You had 4 shots in the game and 3 big chances. So was it only a case of you're only going to have a shot and a chance when it's a really big? I suppose the penalty counts in that.
One's a penalty.
Count as a big chance?
Yeah, I mean, Matisse Tell should have made it 2-0 just before half-time as well. And then Johnson
had an XG of 2 from 4 shots. Okay, 1 penalty is mad.
Madness, isn't it? And then Johnson had a really good chance just straight after Brighton had equalised as well. After it was more good work from Tell on the left, actually. So Tell had a big involvement. His XGI must have been massive, actually, therefore, Tell. Because he's won the penalty. he missed a big chance and he created that chance for Johnson. I can't think what the fourth shot was, Suj. um,
His expected goals was zero point 0.7 and expected assists was 0.15. So
it was
0.85.
under one. That doesn't really add up. Okay, fine. Anyway, um, we played a right first half. The team didn't surprise me. I know a lot of people saw the team and were like, "Oh, that's stronger than I thought it was." I just thought it would be in the sense of what are Tottenham waiting for? There's not even like a post-season game this year in Australia or anything like that. There's nothing to wait for. I think the likes of Van der Ven and Bentancur and Solanke and that will play if they're fit, and that's how it proved. And first half was probably pretty even. It was harsh on Brighton that they were losing, but we showed good commitment in the game. Like Bentancur was playing like a player who I thought watching the first half had been told you're coming off at half time.
Right.
Do you know what I
Get
mean?
it.
Like you're
Get it out
going
of your
45
system.
minutes and leave it all out there. And once he went off about the hour mark, along with Van der Ven and Solanke, yeah, game over. And Brighton had just gone in front at that point as well. And the last half hour was a really, really tough watch because Brighton could have ended up getting 6 or 7 if they'd wanted to. The game ended up in the same way, sort of similar to how Palace battered us a few weeks ago. Yes, there's mitigating. Yes, they'd been on the piss for a few days and stuff like that. But it had started okay. It ended pretty fucking atrociously, actually. Go on, ask me the question.
Do you care?
Oh, what about Sunday? Well, actually, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I didn't really. Oh, yeah, we'd have won the trophy and we just lost 4-1. Like a little bit like we said about Liverpool. They'll be trying to win, and I think that's what we were trying to do. Do I ultimately? No. It's almost the fact that it's gone 17 years without a trophy and finished 17th almost feels quite ironic in a weird sort of way. And probably no one will ever do that again. Finish 17th and win a European trophy. That wasn't the question I was thinking, Suj.
Go on then. What's the question you're thinking?
Ange.
Oh, I mean, we talked about it on Friday, hadn't we, in the differential show? And I heard you talking about it on the deadline stream where people talked about it as well. But for those who are not patrons and listen to the differential show, and those who didn't tune into your deadline stream, in or out, or shake it all about?
I'm like 60-40 on it, but
I know.
I'm more in camp out than in. However, the words over the last 24 hours is likely going to stay, and I kind of felt that's how it would be because I think the mic drop kind of statement on Friday at the parade, the fact that the players are all behind him, how the fans have positively swung back in kind of favour of him as a generalisation and a whole, probably meant that Levy was going to come across as this cold bastard, which he is anyway, if he sacked him. The more I've thought about it, the more I've just thought it's what I've said previously. Every other club, I think, is like, oh, I hope Ange stays. And also, I think what's changed is the fact that we've got Champions League football means we can target a different caliber of manager. So, with respect to all the managers we've been linked with, like I've said, I'm not, none of them have been like, oh, that's the one. Like I've joked about Luis Enrique, right? Like I would ditch Ange in a heartbeat. I'm sorry, Ange, I love you, mate. I'd ditch him in a heartbeat for Luis Enrique, right? But I'm not saying I should ditch him for like Silva or Frank or someone similar like this. I'm not convinced that's right. And also, now we're playing Champions League football. It's just like for me, the opportunity's there to go and chase someone who's a Champions League caliber manager before inevitably we sit there in October, November, or 12th in the league and go, oh, we fucked this, haven't we?
Hmm.
And so I think it's cold, but I don't see it working. And ultimately, you're watching the game again on Sunday, and you're like, I get it, they were drunk, but how shit is this, man? And we've won this trophy not by playing Ange ball. It's someone else's fucking ball. It's not Ange ball the way we've played to go and
No,
win
but
this
he's the one that set
trophy.
the team up like that.
He's dreadful, man. He's not gonna if Ange is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be like this counter-attacking manager now, like it ain't gonna work. It's not. Do I think set up in some of our more difficult away games like this? Yeah, cool. But playing like this ain't the way either. So it sounds like he's going to stay, and I don't have a problem with that, by the way. But I think my preference would be if you could offer me a top manager, I'd be keen to. Now that we're in the Champions League, because it's the first time, as I said to you, I've not even thought about consequence Champions League. It's like now I'm looking at it and going, we got to play in this competition next year. And what, oh, Ange twice a week, like Europa and Premier League was tough. How do you think that's going to work? Champions League and Premier League?
You might get extra day rest in between your games, James.
I mean, the Thursday Sunday is the worst slog of all because you can end up, you could end up with like Tuesday Saturday stuff and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the more I thought about it, the more I thought I would change, but not just change for the sake of change. Change for seize the opportunity. Like, thank you, mate. You got us there. Well done. Change for the sake of trying to
There
get a
is
top manager in.
a lot to be said for quitting now while you're on a high rather than losing that goodwill.
He won't quit. That's clear now.
And yeah, no, not that he would quit, but just call it quits now while you've got good vibe with him. If you get to November, December, people start getting resentful again, and yeah, not great. James, one thing that you've been going on about for ages and ages and ages is how are we still down there and got a positive goal difference?
It's gone right.
A negative goal difference, James.
Minus
Let's talk about
one.
Wolves 1, Brentford 1.
You can't do that. Come on, I've got to
Brighton.
I've got to give them some flowers, particularly as well because the team dropped, and I'm sure even
They
the
didn't get to
Brighton.
Europe though.
No.
So they'll be disappointed as well. Let's be honest.
I mean, them is
They've only
bad.
lost 9 games all season. It was
Yeah.
only the top 4 that lost 9 or fewer.
But
Man City lost 9. Chelsea lost 9. It was only Arsenal and Liverpool that lost less games this season.
They drew at home to all of the bottom three
Yeah.
and lost 7-0 to the team that finished above them. And if they'd won that one fixture when they lost 7-0 at Forest, they'd have finished above them, ironically. I'm sure Brighton fans, even when they saw the team, was going, what the hell is this? So obviously no Welbeck on top of no Rutter, and obviously João Pedro not being considered at the moment. And Mitoma, as I'd warned, is obviously carrying an injury. What a difference he made when he came. That player, mate, every single time we play him, I'm like, oh my God, please go and buy him. But it hurts to set up this really kind of interesting 4-2-4 where they had Yari alongside Baleba. They played the two fullbacks sat quite deeper than what we expect. I mean, Stupinan wasn't available as well. So they played Julio as a centre back, really, like at left back, and Vifas played right back, who's a midfielder. And they really layered like a front four. So Adingra and Minter stayed really high and wide, and they played Hinshelwood and Gruder as like tens. And actually, I thought tactically we dealt with that quite well in the first half because that must have come as a surprise. And I think even when you saw the Brighton team, you're like, I really don't know what this is going to be. Hinshelwood is a really good player. Gruder is really tidy as well. But the X factor for them, the difference was as soon as Mitoma got on the pitch, it was like, okay, now I believe you have an end product on top of what you're doing here. Minter was ex-lively ridiculous. There is a potential superstar in there, but I don't know if it will equate to output of something that people are going to desperately want for fantasy. Adingra was more frustrating. And also from our perspective, we conceded 2 goals to Hinshelwood from set plays, which they're obviously shocking. Archie Gray, unfortunately, is not good on either of them. His positioning on the second one is step out, please, mate. And I've told you about concerns I have about him, but I don't want to dig Tottenham out this week. But congratulations to Brighton. I think that's 8th is a decent first season under Hurtsler. I think that's pretty good.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Wolves 1, Brentford 1. As I said, 2 teams that have had a mention on this pod because of Manchester United and maybe losing 2 star men. I was expecting more goals in this, to be honest with you, James.
39 goals between Boomer and Visser. It's not bad. And Sade's 10 plus as well, isn't he? So
And Vista scored a few.
the only thing you would say about them is I think the nucleus of the team stays together.
Brentford.
Yeah. So I don't think like Boomer and Visser won't both go. Yeah, there is obviously a chance here that Boomer goes, no doubt about it. But I don't see too many of the rest of that team being picked apart.
Norgard.
They've
Damsgaard.
they've activated the option to buy Kyoto as well. And we've got a couple of players who've obviously invested in the likes of Nunes and Thiago. We've hardly seen, right, because of injuries, etc. So it'll be all right. Thomas Frank knows what he's doing. For Wolves, that's more interesting one. And very difficult, I think, to say what will happen next year. So Cunha's going to go. We know that. Aït-Nouri's been heavily linked with Manchester City. over
Has
the
he?
last 48 hours or so. João Gomez will get linked with clubs because he's a super
Well,
talent,
a
and
lot of
Andre's a
their
good player
players
as
will
well.
get linked to a club, see that midfield because they're
Nelson
good
Semedo's going to leave. That's been
and a
confirmed as
contract,
well.
right?
Yeah. So I mean, if you stripped just them four out, like, which current team's going to finish 17th next year? It would be them if they don't replace that properly. And the concern with Wolves is it's fine if Cunha goes, but the concern with the way that that model has worked under the Fossum family over the last number of years is, will they reinvest in that football team? And that will be the fear for Wolves fans this summer. It's like, are they just going to take the money again, or are they going to reinvest it properly? Because replacing Cunha's goals, I know he can be a bit petulant and stuff, but replacing them goals not going to be easy. You lose something. Imagine suddenly João Gomez went and then Andre got injured or something, and then Aitnori and Semedo have gone both wing backs. You're like, what's this team now? I'd suddenly be concerned for it. So I think really important summer for them. Really like Vitor Pereira. I think he's had a very transformative impact for them. For them to finish 16th, they arguably should have finished a bit higher actually in the end. They put that great 6 game winning stretch together. Larson be one to watch out for next year because we know that's
Yeah,
talisman capable, and with Cunha not there,
I
we'll
can't see him
probably want
getting a
to.
massive price rise
No, not
either.
really.
Maybe up to 6 or something.
Not really. He's the sort of one. If they have good fixtures at the start, I think he'd be quite popular. But it's also obviously very dependent on what they do in the transfer market, because presumably they're going to have to invest. Or do they look at it and go, well, we got you people like Manetzi in January to help. At that point, is that it? That's what I'm saying. That would be the concern from Wolves fans. And Brentford, we know, like, the difference is if Bumo goes, we know they'll invest the money again, even if it is something that they'll give a longer term process to, where someone like Thiago or Nunes will play more next year, and then we'll invest that money in something more for their future. They're going to be absolutely fine as long as Thomas Frank's there. Essentially, I think.
Good, good.
Great goal from Manetzi, by the way. Super finish. Shout, I mean, goal of the weekend was Gomez's goal for Brighton at Tottenham. The last goal was an absolute stunner.
Good, good. James, let's wrap up the games. Nothing else to add on this season of the Premier League, but we will answer off a few questions before we wrap this show. And there's only one place to start, James, and that is Jacob. And you know why we're starting with Jacob? Because it's Jacob Hinchcliffe, and he won our public mini league.
Have you verified
so congratulations, Jacob. Yeah, I've looked on
well done, because the account going around claiming it's one FPL is fake, in case you hadn't noticed.
Really?
Yes.
Well, Jacob says, I've just won the Planet FPL Mini League. Can I now be referred to as an expert? With a few laughing emojis. Jacob, you can refer to yourself as whatever you like, sir. But congratulations to you.
Congrats,
I think he ended up finishing 56th overall, which is a monster.
56. Jake, if DM me if you want to come on the pod, we'll talk about it.
And I'm sure he will. Quite a few people asking what players clubs need to buy. I mean, so many players are going to be in the market for so many players. You might be a pod to save for a few weeks into when we get into July, like the way that you did in January with Clayton, where you went through every Premier League club and identified one player that they might need. That was a really good, interesting listening discussion.
Is there any club, let's reshape the question probably at this moment then. Is there any club you'd look at now and go, they'll be really happy to go again next season with exactly as they are?
No, because they're even the likes of like a Palace or something might lose players that they'll need to replace. So yeah.
I was actually thinking that's probably the closest one, because then that means Gay, Eze and all that stay, but they'll still want additions because of European football. Bournemouth would probably be another one. They'd probably but it's clear that Howson and Kirkes at least they're going to go. So I don't think there's any team you'd look at and go, if next season started, the fan base would be happy right now. So everybody's got work to do.
Roberto Hollis, Mr. Yellow Army, wants to know who the 3 most improved assets from the 23-24 to the 24-25 season were that you think would have a big jump next year. Most improved from one year to another. Bumo might be up there.
Bumo's finished the second highest scorer. It's incredible.
Yeah, and he started the season at 6.5, didn't he? So
has Vissa finished on more points than Haaland?
Probably. I
For
will check that for you
consequence, I
now.
think that's going to be close. I know Haaland's played less minutes, but that's
Yes,
still
Visser has finished on 4 more points than Erling Haaland, James.
that's quite something, isn't it? So I think
Chris Wood, surely, it's got to be up there. 200-point season.
yeah, Morgan Rogers, Villa,
Has
super
done well.
season, come from kind of.
161 points.
I know a lot of us identified him, and in fact, a lot of us started with him in game week 1 as like a 5 million asset. But I think he probably has exceeded what people's expectation would be. I mean, Enzo Fernandez is not going to be 5 million again as another one, is he? I don't think he
I don't
probably
know.
can
I
be.
mean, he's not on the first page of point scorers in here. So Enzo ended up 135 points. It's all right. I tell you, I'm going to chuck one more in there, James, for you. Alex Iwobi, because he's ended up on 160 something points, which I wouldn't
Yeah,
have
but you're
ever
not.
thought.
Nah, nah,
Still,
you're not.
still doesn't make you want to buy him, does it?
No, I'm going to make you be 7 million. That's the clincher for me. Now I'm going to buy him. Like, no. I think as well, the young players, so to compare, if Iwobi was 19 and had that season with Fulham, like truthfully, he's going to he'd be looking at a hike, right? But having watched him in the league for 10 years, I'm going to tell you that's unnecessary. Whereas if Rodgers is 5 million again, he's in everybody's team again in game week 1. It's clearly obvious that he'd be in the sort of player that would be in for a hike. Visser is going to be in for a hike, right? Yeah, Wood, but I don't think like Chris Wood again because of his age. I don't think much, Suj.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What did Wood start as?
Probably 5.5 or 6 this season. I can check
I mean,
that.
if he's like 7, is he an auto pick? I don't think he is, mate. A lot of it's
No.
going to come down to fixtures, isn't it?
He started the
Ultimately.
season at 6 and he's finished the season at 7.2.
Bowen is weirdly, he's probably going to need one because it'll be when people look at like our form at the end of the season, he's probably going to show up best, isn't he?
He started the season at 7.5. He's finished the season at 7.9. So he's not shot up massively.
Yeah, but I bought him like 8 weeks ago at like 7.3 or something. So
Yeah, I mean, he was 7 the year before, 8.5 the year before that. So I don't know.
I think the interesting one's what
maybe
happens
more
with
than 9.
defenders because obviously Trent was obviously going to top point. He's obviously not going to be next year. What's top point for defender now next year? Is it Gabriel? Is it Vardiol?
Yeah, it'd be one of those
Van
two.
Dijk? What does that look like now next year? And is the game going to do anything to kind of bring back our interest in them? Because the BPS is, yeah, it's against them massively, isn't it?
These are all the debates that we'll have over the course of the close season, James, which leads me on to what is the close season looking like over the next coming weeks? Let's let the listeners know before we call time on this episode.
Clayton James tomorrow. We've got a few more bits on Patreon today with our Q&A and tomorrow with Tottenham and final Nico's corner of the season tomorrow as well. Then we're going to take a little break. We're back on June the 9th. And we're going to go through the summer up till I think it's July the 16th and then going to take a 2-week break before correspondent week, which will be August the 4th. We'll have a pod on August the 1st as well, kind of wrapping up any important news on those 2 weeks before. So what exactly the content looks like, I'm open to suggestions and stuff at this moment, but it's going to continue. It's not going to be like blanket wall-to-wall Club World Cup coverage because I just don't have I'm sure we're going to cover it off, but I don't have the motivation to be giving much of a shit about it.
Yeah, I think after a bit of downtime, once it starts, you're missing a little bit of football. You'll clearly watch it and keep your ear to the ground, but definitely not from a fantasy point of view. I don't think we're taking that overly seriously, unless after game week 1, I'm in the top 1,000, in which case it's all I'll be tweeting about. Yeah, cool. Nothing else to add.
It'll soon start again, right? The fixtures will be out in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's soon.
Yeah, time flies. Time does fly. Listeners, just needs to say thank you for all your support over the season and listening. I'm sure you're going to carry on listening, I hope. We'll be back next season, as always, ploughing through and trying to finally get a 5-figure rank. Indeed. But yeah, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. James, anything else to add?
No, just to kind of reiterate what you said. Thanks everyone for your support throughout the season. we look forward to being back for season 9. It will be round sooner than we think, I think.
Indeed. Stay safe, listeners. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. No need to play it your way for a little while now. Be nice to each other, though. Cue music, please. Man child.